Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today is a little bit different. We are going to talk about something here on the whiteboard, and obviously it's empty right now, yes, but we're going to walk you through some numbers here on, I shared this last week on my Instagram story. It's a shame when you see someone not take advantage of today's market, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. But we got to talk about this because this guy left a ton of money on the table, and we're going to walk you through the numbers and get into it right now. Additionally, if you are new to the channel, make sure that you tap that subscribe button and tap the bell notifications, because whether it's a vlog style, the cars, real estate, or even some of these numbers that we're about to unpack, you don't want to miss a single video. Once a week is what we're doing here. And so whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or if you're into the Porsche stuff, or if you're just here in Atlanta and want a new connection, that's what we're here for. That's what we're all about. So let's get right into these numbers. So what I'm going to share with you guys today is there was a seller here in our neighborhood that actually represented his own property and did not have any agents involved. I assume, I'm making a lot of assumptions because I don't know the full story, but I do know enough that we can do some rough numbers and figure out what he missed out on today. And this is a huge alert to those sellers out there that are thinking about going onto the market or even staying off market and potentially missing out on some opportunity. So there was a property here in my neighborhood that had been a long time rental. And our neighborhood is a little unique, a little bit different, that there's a lot of one-for-one infill. And basically what that means is a lot of the homes in this neighborhood were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So they're smaller ranches, some of them split levels and stuff. But the great thing about this neighborhood is they have huge lots. So anywhere from a third of an acre up to a full acre and somewhere in between. But the average in here is about 0.6. So you get half an acre or more in most cases. And so when you have a small house on a big lot, it's natural that that land value continues to go up. It only makes sense to redevelop or rebuild a property on that lot that's more congruent with what today's buyers are looking for. And so, if you have a 14 to 18, maybe as high as 2,000 square foot house, you can now build 5, 6, 7,000, 10,000 square feet on a lot of these lots in here because of the size and because of the restrictions, builder restrictions in Sandy Springs. You can build easily 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 square foot house or home on this property now. And so obviously trying to maximize the value of the land, you build a bigger house and there you go. So let's get into these numbers though real quick here. Okie dokie, so that's the scenario. My handwriting's terrible, please forgive it. But scenario 1 versus scenario 2. Okay, so what we're gonna start off with here is scenario 1. I know he sold this property, or he's under contract, I should say, for $500,000. Now, two quick things here. First of all, the average selling price here in Sandy Springs is about $750,000. So you see problem number 1. Number 2 is this house never came on the market. And when a house doesn't go onto the market, it doesn't get its full potential for what that house might sell for. Now, there may be a number of reasons why you don't put your house on the market. That's fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go or should not go on the market. That's entirely up to you and your real estate agent, if you're using one, or a realtor in that case. But the two problems here, number 1, we're significantly lower than the average value here in Sandy Springs, which it is an average. So you're gonna have properties above and below. But the real problem here is what happens next. Okay, so while I don't know every single detail about this particular transaction, I'm going to make a lot of assumptions only to compare it to scenario 2 over here. So if I assume fees, and fees are defined as commissions, transfer taxes, anything else that the seller of this home right here would have to pay at closing, right? So ultimately it looks like, and again, we're making a lot of assumptions, it looks like he's gonna end up netting $500,000. If he has no fees. Now, the reason I put an asterisk here is because I don't know if there was a buyer's agent or a buyer's broker involved in here. If there was, and they charge 2.5% or 3% or 3.5% or whatever they charge, that would then have to get plugged in. But nevertheless, we can all agree that this number would come down to something like, I don't know, 475 or 450, or depending on this fee, that's ultimately how we will get here. But let's just assume, for the sake of this argument and for the sake of today's dialogue, that he didn't pay a buyer's agent. So none of this applies and this number does not exist. So let's just say he goes to closing and he gets $500,000. So let me tell you why this is a problem. Number one, in this neighborhood, homes generally sell between 550 to 600 on the low side, up to 1.1, 1.2, some as high as $1.4 million. So when we say he's at the very bottom of this neighborhood, we're saying he's at the very bottom of this neighborhood. It's also worth mentioning, part number two here, that homes at this price are the ones that are getting torn down to build the $1.2, $1.4 million houses. So this lot could easily take a 5, 6, 7,000 square foot house. You could build that property, you could sell it for $1.2, $1.4 million, somewhere in that general range. Maybe as low as $1 million if you go on this, smaller square footage. But generally speaking, I'm very, very conservative in our numbers here. So we're actually going to play out two other scenarios here. All right, so we're going to play out scenario 2 and scenario 3 here in just a moment. But let's say this guy hires me to sell his house and I say, look, $550 is really the right price here. I think that's what we can sell it for, not $500, because today's seller's market's absolutely insane. So let's list it at $550. Let's say we sell it for $550. Well, the fees on that would be $38,500 if I assume 3.5% to the buyer's agent and 3.5% to me. Now, it's worth mentioning, there are no standard commissions in real estate. You as a consumer have the ability to negotiate with your agent, and your agent has the ability to negotiate with you on what these fees look like. But let's just assume for our math today that it's 7% total, and again, transfer taxes, everything else coming out of these fees. Ultimately, what do we net here as a seller? Well, the answer is $511,500 based on this $38,500 in fees. So you see the difference already, $511,500 versus $500. So we already have a difference here in net of $11,500. So you see the challenge here, right? With not putting it on the market versus putting it on the market. And now again, we're making an assumption. So even if this number comes down, obviously the net comes down, but yet we're still $12,000 apart, give or take a couple $100 between the 500 and the 550 price point. But again, we're putting more eyeballs on it. We're marketing the property. We're showing the property. We're giving more buyers an opportunity at that house. I don't know, again, if there was a buyer's agent or if this finder's fee or whatever else was included in here. But again, that number at 500 always comes down the net anytime we add fees, obviously, because we just assumed zero there. Now let's go to scenario number 3. And again, you get the math here, so you can make a lot of assumptions on anything. If you negotiate a lower fee, a lower commission rate, obviously, you're gonna net a little bit more, right? The reason I wanna play out scenario number 3 here is because I genuinely think this is how this would have played out. So again, taking just a different number, I think if I had listed this property at $550, it probably actually would have sold for closer to $600. And again, that's just based on my analysis of this neighborhood. No one has sold more homes in this neighborhood than me in the last 4 years, so I know the market pretty well. You can, in fact, take the next 3 or 4 agents and add up all their sales. They still don't compare to what I've done in this neighborhood. So let's just assume I listed at 500, but it actually sells for 600. Well, now the fees are $42,000. So significant little jump here, about 10%, right? But we also went up 10% in your price, and that's not 42,000 K, that's just 42,000. So again, I'm assuming 7%, 3.5, 3.5, and again, no standard commissions in real estate, so make it 2.5, do your math however you want. It's 5%, it's 6%, it's whatever it is. But again, no standard commissions in real estate. I'm just assuming 3.5% to both sides, $42,000. Look at this new net, $558,000 net. Now, how much more is that than what he got on his own? That's right, $58,000 is the difference in net compared to his 500 that he got over here. Does this make sense? I know my handwriting is terrible, by the way. I don't need any comments about my handwriting, but you understand the point here, right? And again, if you're not looking to go on the market, if you don't want random strangers going through your house, whatever, I understand. But what I want you guys to understand today is that when you do that, you leave money on the table, right? And there's a reason that there's a lot of off-market properties going under contract right now and selling because of this. People are leaving money on the table. If you're a seller and you're thinking about selling your house, you could potentially, at least at this price point, do the math however you want though, even if this house is only worth $250,000, you still miss out on potentially 10%. That's a big, big mistake in the hottest market that we've realized here in the Atlanta area. So if this makes sense to you, this is why I wanted to bring this to you, because I talked about this on Instagram last week. A ton of people reached out. Agents loved it. Consumers loved the idea of walking through this math and walking through this scenario. And again, we're making a lot of assumptions over here, but even if we make those assumptions, this net always comes down. At the very best, he said this house sold for $500,000. But you see, even if I'm just a little bit higher, he still ends up netting almost $12,000 more. That's a big deal. And so the reason that I bring this to your attention is because in the world's hottest seller's market, literally by the numbers, people have seen property increase valued at 20, 25, 30, 35% just in the last 2 years. That's real equity, by the way, that you can pull out of your house. So if you're looking to sell, do not make this mistake. Go with an agent, negotiate the contracts, do everything, and negotiate the commissions, do everything that you got to do to protect yourself. But have a professional assess this stuff for you, because while the numbers may not look this good to you and your deal, it could be that you're leaving money on the table. Anyway, I just wanted to leave that for you this afternoon. Hopefully that's of value though. And honestly, just call a professional, whether it's me or someone else. That's not the point here. The point is that you could potentially be missing out on a ton of money. And since this is one of the largest investments you're ever going to make, please, please, please consider hiring a professional. Hopefully this was valuable though. If you found any value in this, please leave a comment down below. And if you did not, please also leave a comment down below. I do want to do more of these whiteboards, walking people through the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So to me, when you see the numbers, it's pretty cut and dry how this all plays out. And again, we're making a lot of assumptions and we're being very conservative on our numbers here. But even if I'm half wrong, he still could have walked away with $6,000 more. Or he could have walked away with at least $28,000 more. Is that a problem? Yes, that's a major problem. Anyway, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys following along. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.